Purple and Black in support of raising awareness for gender-based violence. So I really, really believe that it's so important to look at gender-based violence as a whole and to join the movement in really supporting this raising of awareness. Every day we hear heartbreaking news about women who have been killed, who've been sexually assaulted or violently attacked, very often by people that they know. This troubling pattern resonates deep within our communities and families and just perpetuates a cycle of violence. Today, Women for Change organization has called for a national shutdown and is staging quite a few lie-ins around the country. Women in Sectional Title supports this initiative, and we also support the call to national government to declare a state of disaster in the country. Turning now to our own industry, I'd like to thank We Connect You, who is our main sponsor, for supporting women in our industry, managing agents around the country, trustees, and also women in their own organization. I'm also excited to announce that I've been invited by We Connect You to attend at the Engage event next year in February and March, and to go to all 6 events around the country, spread the message to professionalize the sectional title industry. So really, we'll keep you posted about that Engage, the Engage seminar and events. It's both online and in person. So today, we've got lots to talk about. We're talking about wellness, and there's nobody better placed to speak about wellness than our guest. Her name is Theresa Mathison. Theresa is the regional training manager for Wellness Warehouse in both Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. So welcome, Theresa.
Thank you very much for having me, Marina, and good morning to all the ladies. I'm looking forward to our conversation this morning.
Definitely, and thank you for wearing black in support of today.
Of course.
All right, so Theresa, can you start by telling us a little bit more about your role at Wellness Warehouse, and also just, talk us through what wellness means to you personally.
Yeah, great. So I manage the technical training for our sales teams in Gauteng and in KwaZulu-Natal, both through our online wellness training academy and in person. So my role really is about helping our teams see the bigger picture. It's not just about what products do. It really is about understanding how everything we take in and everything we put on our bodies interacts and affect different body systems. So we teach a 360-degree approach because we're not just a physical body. We are also a mind and we have emotions, and all 3 form part of the whole. So if one area is out of balance, let's say, for instance, somebody doesn't have a solid support structure, then really no supplement or superfood can fill that gap. And so for me personally, wellness is really about the complete picture. It's a balanced body, mind, and spirit, supported by intentional daily choices on a daily basis.
Absolutely, and Wellness Warehouse it's a familiar brand. And I think, whenever you say Wellness Warehouse, people recognize it. What would you say is the philosophy behind this brand?
Well, Marina, wellness for us is really a journey rather than a destination. Excuse me, and it looks a little bit different for everyone. There is no one-size-fits-all approach. And education is such a big part of that journey, not just for our team members, but for our customers too. It's always easier to prevent something from becoming a problem rather than trying to manage symptoms later. Unfortunately, there just is no magic pill. And sometimes the slow way is the fast way. And we've seen that things really click when we meet somebody where they're at. When somebody understands the why, then they feel more empowered to make choices that resonate and work for them. And I just need to share, Marina, this is so beautiful. We've seen it play out internally too. We have so many team members that have become the go-to person in their community for advice. And for me, that's the most rewarding thing about what I do is to see how one person's growth can ripple out and make a difference for others.
That's brilliant. And there has been growth of your brand as well. I mean, how many stores do you have at the moment?
We currently have 55 stores across the Western Cape, Gauteng, and KwaZulu-Natal, and we're constantly expanding our footprint. We have 2 more stores in Gauteng and 1 more in the Western Cape in the pipeline to open up before the end of the year. If anybody wants to find the store closest to them, it's easiest to just pop onto our website, wellnesswarehouse.com, and then use the store locator to find the store.
Excellent. Thank you for that. If you walk into a store, in any store, I mean, even, other stores, there's so much facing you. They're natural products. They're things for the, for beauty. You kind of have so many choices.
Yeah.
How do you, I mean, what's the most popular category of products that you're holding at the moment?
So our vitamins, minerals, and supplement category has always been one of our best. And it certainly still is, especially since COVID, when we saw a real surge in people looking for alternative ways to help them with their health and immunity. Then our clean fitness department, which focuses on clean, natural pre and post workout products that are free from unnecessary additives, fillers, and other nasties, is also right up there. But what's really exciting to see is the growing interest in natural foods or clean foods, natural beauty, and body care.
Okay, yeah, that sounds right. When you walk into a shop, it's calming, and I mean, is that quite intentional in terms of how you've structured your stores?
That is such a lovely question, Marina, and I'm glad you feel that way because it is very intentional. We want our stores to be calming, mindful, and authentic spaces where you can really, shop at your own pace. And everything from the layout to the lighting to the materials we use is designed with that in mind. We use sustainable materials and we focus on circular design. So there's less waste and better energy use, and there's also a more natural element that feels grounding. And then, of course, our teams are there to make sure that your experience feels warm and supportive without feeling sales driven.
Yeah, that's great. And often when you're faced with consumers who are just buying and buying and buying, there's the temptation to just bring in any brands, any products, anything that sells. What is your approach to choosing brands that go into your stores?
Yeah, that's so important. And it all starts with our ingredient policy. If there is even just one product in a long list, or one ingredient rather, in a long list of ingredients that is on our no list, it just won't make it in. So, for example, in our foods department, that means that we will avoid things like artificial sweeteners, synthetic colors, and preservatives. In body care, we stay away from parabens, phthalates, sulfates, basically anything that can irritate, disrupt hormones, or harm the environment. And then we also check certification and claims so that our customers can trust what they buy. And we are very careful not to jump onto every single wellness trend out there if it's not backed by solid research, because ultimately our goal is to keep everybody safe.
For sure. The other day I was just at a store and looking, not your store, just looking at products like creams and things like that. I think a lot of people don't understand or don't read, me included actually, until quite recently, what is actually going on in that product. I mean, you've got stuff like petroleum and paraffins and all of those kind of things, which really, I think, can play havoc with your body. And, we need to be more mindful of that. Certainly, I'm going to be in the future.
Marina, that's such a very important point because the beauty industry is not highly regulated. So, things slip in through the cracks and it's not always the best for us. The main concern there is that many of the things that we put on our skins, and our skin is our biggest organ, actually disrupts our hormones. So they are called xenoestrogens, foreign estrogens, and they play a massive role in things like breast cancer, hormone positive cancers, because the body is naturally supposed to cope with toxins. It is a natural process. When we just metabolize food normally, we produce toxins, but we also produce antioxidants that help to neutralize all the free radicals that we create during that process. The problem comes in when we are exposed to all these environmental toxins. And, you know, a lot of it comes from the things that we put on our skins, things like air pollution, the non-stick pans that we cook with, clothing that we wear. You know, if you're in an industry, if you work in the airline industry, or if you are a firefighter, the clothing is covered with chemicals that prevent the clothing from catching fire. So many things actually contribute to that toxin load, and eventually just overwhelms the body. And we can't detox properly. Our cells become overwhelmed. We don't have energy. And then the xenoestrogens add to the disruption of the hormones. So, I mean, there's been a massive rise in things like breast cancer, and even for males, prostate cancer, you know, all those hormone-sensitive cancers. Yeah.
Absolutely. Looking at your structure at Wellness Warehouse, women leadership, I think there you do have a fair amount of women in leadership roles. And what is your feeling about the female energy and perspective that these roles bring?
Yeah, very important for us. 4 out of 6 of our Manco team and around 75% of our store leaders are women. And we feel it brings a special kind of strength. You know, it builds more collaborative teams where everybody's voice is heard, communication flows, and people thrive together. And it's not just us saying it. Research shows that diverse, strong female leadership leads to better decision making, higher emotional intelligence for sure, and of course, a more resilient culture.
Well, we just get things done, actually, is what you're saying.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Yeah. And we always talk about on Women in Sectional Title, I like to be at the forefront of what's going on. So in terms of things like trends in the wellness industry, what are the wellness trends at the moment from a global and South African perspective?
Well, there's so much happening in the wellness space right now, but a few trends really stand out for me. And one of the biggest is functional nutrition. I don't really know anybody anymore who's just counting calories. And most people nowadays want their food and their supplements to actively support digestion, immunity, energy, our hormones, brain function, and definitely inflammation. And so the whole idea behind functional nutrition is that it is very intentional and very personal, because food is no longer just fuel, it is medicine, period. Then there's this fascinating area of psychobiotics and postbiotics. So there are certain strains in our gut, certain strains of gut bacteria that influence our moods, resilience to stress, and also cognition. And interestingly enough, 90 to 95% of serotonin is created in the gut. Only a very small percentage is actually produced in the brain. Now, even though the serotonin produced in the gut doesn't cross over into the brain, it still communicates with the brain via the vagus nerve. So you can think of it as a superhighway that communicates or that connects the brain to major organs like the heart and the lungs and the gut. And so when we say things like, I have a gut feeling, or my gut says no, or even when our tummy starts to feel a little bit queasy when we're nervous, we're talking about that gut-brain connection. Then postbiotics are produced when the gut bacteria ferment food, and most often that is fiber. Now, the metabolites create short-chain fatty acids, and these are incredibly important to help maintain the integrity of the gut lining. When the gut lining is compromised, we have undigested food and toxins slipping into the bloodstream. And, once that happens, the downstream effect really is far-reaching. They also help to keep our inflammation in check. And as we know, most degenerative conditions start with chronic low-grade inflammation. So it's very important for us to keep the inflammation as low as possible. The postbiotics are even being used in skincare now, interestingly enough. So you'll see that as a new trend. I'm not too familiar with many products in South Africa, but I know it is coming. So the postbiotics in the skincare also help address inflammation, but more topically. And it also helps to support the skin barrier. So very, very similar function to the gut. Then longevity and vitality are also huge right now. And people are no longer concerned about how long they will live. They are definitely more concerned about how well they will live, because we are living longer. And that means that we need to support cellular energy. We do that in two ways. The first one is helping our mitochondria, the little powerhouses that we have in our cells, turn food into fuel. And then we help cellular energy by cleaning out senescent cells.
Hello?
Senescent cells are zombie cells.
Okay, yeah, that's also again.
Carry on, we'll just mute that. Please mute yourself, whoever that is. Thank you. Carry on.
So zombie cells are cells that no longer divide. And unfortunately, they don't just hang around. They absolutely release inflammatory compounds that accelerate our aging. So very important to get rid of them. So in this space, we've seen a renewed interest in ancient botanicals like astragalus and ginseng. The big star is the medicinal mushrooms like reishi and shiitake and turkey tail, for instance. And there are also some botanicals that they are researching actively, like quercetin and quercetin. So all in all, that's a really good one to keep our eyes on. What I want to share with you, Marina, and I know you will be very interested in this, is a lovely article on VO2 max. This is another buzzword in the industry, and this article specifically highlights why women in particular need to pay attention to it. So let me just pop that into the chat there. Here we go. And for anybody who doesn't know what VO2 max is, it's the measure of how efficiently your body uses oxygen during exercise. And it's one of the strongest predictors of health span and longevity. A higher VO2 max is associated with better overall health and longevity, including the brain, the heart, and lung function. So these are all areas that tend to decline with age and, as our hormones shift. Then there's community. There is such a hunger for authentic connection and a sense of belonging. Loneliness really has become almost like a pandemic, and people are actively seeking out places where they feel seen, supported, and included. And we've seen many women rise up and creating spaces that are welcoming and inviting. Very similar to this forum. So thank you, Marina, for doing that. And lastly, technology is also reshaping wellness. So, of course, we know about things like wearables and sleep trackers. There's also genetic testing and personalized supplementation. And at the same time, there's a growing interest in analog wellness that is lower and low-tech, slower experiences that help people to connect with nature, with themselves, and with others again. And I find it fascinating that these two trends are running side by side. So yeah, those are the main things that that I see play out currently and into 2026.
I think also from what we read, and I know you guys have a magazine as well, the Wellness Warehouse magazine, which is really very helpful. There's a lot of emphasis also on sleep. Sleep so important, and some people are actually to the point of getting a little bit obsessed with their watches in terms of how well did I sleep last night, and then it messes up my whole day if I actually didn't get the right sleep or the right amount of REM sleep. But I think these things are quite important to monitor.
For sure. Sleep is absolutely non-negotiable. We all know that if we don't sleep well, nothing seems to work well the next day. And that just adds into the whole stress response. And as it is, we are constantly living in fight or flight. So definitely important to monitor that, heart rate, all those things. I do feel, as you say, that people are becoming a little bit obsessive about it. I have to get my 10,000 steps in because to me, you need to move. And, just by getting your steps in doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to elevate your heart rate. So I think we need to be very careful how we actually do interpret the results. They are valuable, but it needs to be interpreted consciously.
Yeah, for sure. What kind of products would you recommend for people who battle to sleep? Because the older I get, certainly the people around me, when they have conversations, instead of talking about our kids and when they were little, now talking about sleep issues and what the discount is at Pick and Pay. But what kind of sleep, what kind of sleep advice would you give? Because obviously we want to try and avoid things like sleeping tablets and that type of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's a very good question, but it's very difficult to answer because it depends on the individual. So what we need to do is we need to really understand what the root cause is of what's keeping them awake. Are we dealing with somebody who is in perimenopause or menopause? Because that could lead to sleeplessness. Is it that somebody's going through a really stressful time in their life and they can't switch off at night? Are they ruminating? Then we can look at something like L-theanine that helps to calm the brain and focus without making you feel sleepy. We can look at things like 5-HTP, which is it's tryptophan, the precursor to serotonin. Serotonin converts into melatonin. Melatonin is our sleep hormone. So it really is very dependent on what is currently happening with that person and what the reason is. Sleep hygiene is absolutely the way to go. It is absolutely key. The body loves routine. So that means that we need to go to bed and wake up at the same time every night. It means that we need to keep our rooms cool and dark. It means that we need to step away from technology and create a bedtime routine or a wind down routine a few hours before we go to bed. And the very important thing is that we need to stick to that routine. And then we can also get some sunlight first thing in the morning, because just if we get some sunlight into our eyes first thing in the morning, it helps to reset that sleep-wake cycle. So absolutely crucial to focus first of all on our sleep hygiene, and then we can start supporting with products. But as we always say, it's a holistic approach. So we need to see what's going on everywhere.
I think in one of your, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, in your in the magazine, this is the Wellness Warehouse magazine, Lizelle, I think she asked, you didn't get the name of it. It says Wellness Warehouse. In the magazine, there was something quite interesting to say that you actually need to, when you go to sleep now, the latest thing is to tape your mouth. So that when so that you're only breathing, nasal breathing.
So yeah, sleep apnea is a big thing. That can certainly, with sleep apnea, you don't get enough oxygen in. And so the body will try and keep you alive. So when you don't get in enough oxygen, it's going to wake you up. So you will wake up with a start, so that you take in another deep breath. So very disturbing for yourself, for your partner as well. And very unhealthy not to get enough oxygen in there. And once again, far-reaching effects on other systems, on other body systems, and not just the sleeping. So it can be a little bit dangerous, I think, as well, because some people, once again, depends on what's happening there. But when somebody is a little bit overweight and they tend to sleep on their backs, the tongue sometimes relaxes and it closes the airway. So I'm a little bit worried about that trend, because if the airway is blocked, you can breathe all you want to through your nose. You're not going to get in the air that you need.
I agree. I agree. I trust that, actually, to be honest, but it's an interesting one, to say the least. We spoke about stress earlier. I'd like to put a pin in that for a moment and just talk about, I mean, we lead busy lives, all of us. And at the end of the day, there's stressful situations that come up in life. You can't sort of go down every rabbit hole and get involved with everybody's issues and problems, but there are times when you are stressed. What does stress do to the body, and what kind of support can we give the body during those specific times?
So with stress, it needs to be a holistic support. So we need to look at food, we need to look at supplements, and we need to look at lifestyle. With stress, we can look at so there are a few vitamins and minerals that get used up very quickly when you're under stress. So you would want to focus on supplementing at least with a magnesium, a good B complex, and also a vitamin C. Those are the ones that get used up the fastest. And then there are plant compounds called adaptogens. Now, these basically help your adrenal glands to adapt more to physical stress, emotional stress, and mental stress. I'm sure most people have heard about ashwagandha, but there are others too, like rhodiola and holy basil. Medicinal mushrooms are great as well in that space. And then I would say invest in something like a really good tub of green powder or a superfood blend, so that you can get all the vitamins and minerals and antioxidants to fill the gaps in your diet. Because if just one mineral or one vitamin is missing, many of the pathways just won't work. And the unfortunate thing is that even if you eat all the right things, our soil is so depleted from minerals specifically. That if we eat the plants grown in that soil, or even if we eat the animals that ate those plants, we may not necessarily be getting all the nutrients that we require. So for me, something like that is an absolute go-to. And then once again, depending on the person, a good omega-3 to help quell inflammation, and a probiotic, and what else would there be? The medicinal mushrooms. Those would be the foundation, and then we can build on that depending on the person.
Okay, well, that's really helpful. Thank you. Theresa, before we move on, we've got some nice news from you, and thank you so much for this, really. Wellness Warehouse has given us a beautiful pamper hamper. We know that end of year fatigue is real. We know that clients are getting, I suppose, on everybody's nerves at the moment, and I think tempers can fray too. So we need this kind of pamper hamper, and its retail value is 1,600 Rand. So thank you. It contains so many beautiful things. You've given me a lot of them, from bath salts to I think daily supplements for the evening and for the day. We've got an aroma burner, essential oils, lovely soap bars. Yeah, this is just beautiful, and plant power in terms of the Nature's Nutrition Bear Bar. So thank you so much for this. So we'd like one of you to win this today. So to enter, what I'd like you to do in the chat is to answer this question. What wellness habit helps you feel your best? What wellness habit helps you feel your best? So pop that into the chat. I'm going to read them out to Theresa a little bit later, just before we end. And then she will let you know who's going to be the winner of that. Okay, so Theresa, just moving forward here, as I've mentioned to you, most of the people on this group are from managing agencies, they're portfolio managers. We do also have trustees, owners, sometimes a few estate agents, busy people. That's the bottom line. The common thread is really busy people. So what are your top 3 wellness practices to help busy people who don't have time to sit and really, go through all this health stuff?
Yeah, it's very real. I do have a few suggestions, and the first one is it's an oldie but a goodie, and it is food prepping. So I think I hear a collective sigh of resistance, but it can be as simple as just making a little bit more tonight, so that we have a healthy breakfast tomorrow, a healthy breakfast or a lunch tomorrow. If we do that, then there absolutely is less temptation to reach out for something that is convenient and quick. And that's often very processed and, very sugar laden. So we don't want to do that. First prize will be if we can food prep for the week ahead on a weekend. So that's my first thing. Then I would, my second one really goes well with the first one, and that is planning and mindful shopping. So we know not to shop when we're hungry, but it can be just as risky if we shop without a list. So plan the week, your meals for the week ahead, jot down what you need, and then shop, whether it's online or in person. And when we shop, we want to focus on the periphery or the outside aisles of a supermarket, because that is where we find the whole and fresh food. Just think of where you find your veggies and your fruit, your meat and eggs. The closer we go towards the central aisles, the more processed the options become. So my one exception is canned beans, because really in today's age, who has time to soak them overnight and still boil them for a few hours? If you do, hats off to you. I don't, not all the time. So if you go that route, just make sure that you choose cans without BPA lining. So because that will add to the endocrine disruptors. It can end up messing with your hormones. In this space, we can also pre-order subscription boxes. There are many producers in KZN, in Joburg, and in Cape Town, where you can pre-order fresh produce. Then you know it's fresh, it is high quality, it is seasonal, and you get to support your local community. So I'm really in favor of that one. And then the last one is just to ditch the sugar. So copious amounts of coffee and sweet energy drinks and soda will give you a boost. Unfortunately, that initial high is followed by a crash, or it will be followed by a crash. And that will just leave you feeling more fatigued, and you'll be craving more. So it's always advisable to have something healthy with you. So just think about a handful of nuts or a packet of trail mix, a few dates, of course, a piece of fruit or dark chocolate. So when we say dark chocolate, 70% of cocoa or more. Those would be my go-tos. There are so many more, but I know we don't have time to go into them.
Absolutely. And we've got an interesting question here. Would Theresa be able to advise which blood test is the best to get to see what your body needs and what can be picked up that is wrong in your body? I don't know if you can answer that, Theresa.
Marina, so I know I sound like a broken record, but it really depends on the individual. So no, but what I am going to do is let me pop a link into, let me just see if I have it here. Yes, I'm going to pop a link into the chat. And this is, let me just do it because I can't multitask. So this is a list of integrative practitioners in South Africa. And you can basically just go on there and find somebody who resonates with you or somebody who's in your area. So integrative practitioners are a little bit different from your normal general practitioners. General practitioners solely focus on what they've been taught in med school. Integrative practitioners consider the whole, and it may be somebody who then incorporate something from mainstream health as well as something that is more complementary. So I really think that that is the future. And if you want to do something like that, it's probably best to go see somebody who has a little bit more of a wider view. Are there any other questions?
Yes, so Sandra says, which shrooms, I assume she's meaning mushrooms, are good? And I think, when people see mushrooms and medicinal mushrooms, they're thinking other things, not what we're thinking. They're thinking, can we get high on these medicinal mushrooms? Maybe that makes you feel a bit better.
Yeah, so actually very interesting, microdosing of the real shrooms, that's also becoming quite a trend. And, they've seen really, really good results with it. But when we say medicinal mushrooms, we talk about the kind that you can really eat as well. So the reishis, the shiitakes, the turkey tail, chaga, and it depends. It depends on what you want to do. So cordyceps, for instance, great to give you energy when you're an athlete and you want to improve your endurance. If you want to support your immunity, maybe you want to go with reishi. If somebody's struggling with cancer, maybe turkey tail. I just want to say that if somebody is struggling with cancer, please don't just use information like this. You can only use it under the guidance of your oncologist or your practitioner.
Okay, great. All right. I'd like to just go through the answers so that you can decide who's going to win the hamper before we go through a few last questions, Theresa. So
Awesome.
we've got, okay, let's just see. We've got 3 people who've said better sleep. So I think we'll have to just rule them out, unfortunately, because I don't know who we will choose. Louise says no screen time for an hour before bed.
Lovely.
Sandra says sleep and movement, mindfulness.
Love it.
WPM, I'm not sure that is. Have a bedtime routine and stick to this routine. No screen time and 8 hours sleep a night. Kit says breathing exercises and taking daily vitamins. Carol Ann says walking. Tracy says journaling and diaphragmatic breathing. Linda, daily exercise and playing with my dogs outside. Actually, the wellness habit that helps me feel the best is journaling and praying. Ashwagandha is my go-to. Cordelia also says sleep, body loves routine. Sharon says having a hot milk drink with cinnamon, cocoa, and nutmeg. It helps me relax and sleep deeply. Lizelle, good quality food and sleeping. Isha, 30-minute walk helps me best. This refreshes me mentally and physically and helps me manage stress, especially working in a stressful environment. My reset. Lizelle also adds exercise there. And Melissa says prioritizing sleep, balance, nutrition, and effective stress management. And Janet, sleep again, start your day with hydration, sunlight, eat whole nutrient-dense food. Okay, let's just look at the last few. I don't want to leave anyone out. Michelle says mindset, emotional empathy. I think that's one. Yeah. Includes being aware of what makes you tick. All right, Theresa, I'm going to leave that to you. You can tell us at the end who you say is going to win that. But in the interim, just we've got a few minutes. In a hectic day, what's a quick thing I can do? I'm quite impatient. I'm into a few quick fixes. So during the day, if I have a spare moment, what should I be doing just to help my body?
Love that question, Marina, because wellness doesn't have to be complicated, right? So certainly, we can make time for some mini wellness moments. And one of my personal favorites is to turn on the music, because slow music and relaxing music tends to help the body flip back into rest and digest, which is the polar opposite to fight or flight. So that's a go-to for me. Another really one that is really effective is activating the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve, remember, is that superhighway between the brain and important organs like the heart and the gut. And you can activate the vagus nerve by simply just humming closed mouth. So you can hum to music, or you can take a couple of deep breaths, and every time that you exhale, you can hum. And then as you do this, focus on the vibrations in your sinuses, in your throat, and in your chest. And then, we should not underestimate the power of taking a mindful pause. And maybe we can all do that together now. So just take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and now focus on 3 things that you can see, 2 things that you can hear, and 1 thing that you can feel. And that tends to bring us back into our bodies. We're so in our heads all the time and we feel so fragmented. So by doing something like this, it brings you back into your body and helps you to feel present. And I think one of the most underrated wellness hacks of all time is hydration. So every time you have a mini wellness moment, just take a sip of water and, your body will thank you for it.
For sure, for sure. And let me share something with you as well. There's a lovely, it's called water llama. You know the llamas that are in Peru? It's called water llama. Go and have a look at it, guys. It's really excellent. It won an award. It was created by Ukrainian, service app providers, whatever it is. They created it, and it's lovely because every time you drink, you just log it, and then this little llama actually fills up with water. And it sends you little messages through the day to say, your skin will look better if you drink this water. It just helps because some people just don't want to do that. So yeah, that's my little bit that I can contribute.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Pleasure. Theresa, we got a winner.
Sure. Marina, one that really stood out for me, and maybe it is a little unfair, but she used all the right buzzwords. I think it was Janet who said she combined lifestyle and nutrient-dense foods, movement. It was towards the end. I don't know if you can find her. I'll also see. I think her name was Janet.
Prioritize sleep, start your day with hydration and sunlight, eat whole, nutrient-dense foods.
Yes.
Okay.
That was a standout for me. I wish I had a product or a gift for everybody because I loved all the answers. Thank you, everybody. But that's life.
Thank you very much. Janet James, you are the winner of a 1,600 Rand hamper. Well done. Thank you for coming to the Women in Sectional Title webinar for sure. So if you could leave our audience, Theresa, with one wellness truth that you live by, what would it be for you?
Marina, that is for me.
Yeah.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one, but for me, because everything, sometimes the more you know, the more difficult things become. So for me personally, I just focus on small, consistent steps, because I know that every single step that I take matters. And what I keep telling myself every day is that, even if I don't do it perfectly every single day, it doesn't mean that I'm failing. It just means that it's part of the journey. So, just keep going back. Just keep going back and just keep adding in the good stuff. And I think I'm still way ahead of most other people. And yeah, that's what I live by.
And I think that's important information, particularly for people who feel overwhelmed, because there's so much health information out there, and getting all this stuff on Facebook and social media, and it can almost be paralyzing because there's so much. You just think, I can't actually do all this. I just need to get on with my day. I've got to send that email to that owner, and I've got to make sure that everything is, rounded up financially, especially our managing agents. So it's one step at a time. And I really enjoyed what you said now. It's just one step at a time. And each day,
Absolutely.
one day at a time, one day at a time. So no,
That's it.
really, I must thank you, Theresa. It's been so, I've enjoyed this. It's been so informative. You've got such great knowledge. I really, really appreciate that you came to join us today. And I hope that everybody enjoyed the webinar today. Also, at 12 o'clock today, there will be 15 minutes of silence. So that will be for the Gender-Based Violence Initiative, Women for Change. I know that the ladies from my office have been invited down to our boardroom just to sit quietly for 15 minutes at 12 o'clock and to reflect, just to reflect on what we need to all be doing going forward. Thank you so much for this space. It's a safe space. Always remember, you can always reach out to us for whatever is on your mind. So thank you so much again. And yeah, we'll see you in December, everybody. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much, Marina. Goodbye, everybody.